Well, hello everyone. How's everyone's doing? Meet Tina. Wow. You know what? Today I'm just so excited because my dear friend, Mary Fong, some of you probably know her already, and also her follower as well. Mary Fong is back again, guys. Let's welcome Mary. Hey, Mary.
Hey, Tina, good to see you again.
I know I'm so glad that you're back. We have a very fascinating talk today. It's about how solar flare affecting our consciousness before and after. So before that, let's get to introduce Mary Fong. I'm just going to allow her to introduce herself because, that way, people will know about her. She's been on this channel for a few times already, and she already got following. A lot of people like her. Mary, why don't we just introduce, yourself, who you are, where you're from, and how did you get into doing this talk?
Oh, wow. Okay. My name is Mary Fong. I'm a professor in communication studies, and I specialize in culture, intercultural communication, and also spiritual communications. So I'm an emeritus professor at Cal State San Bernardino. And so how I fell into spirituality, well, it's a long story actually, but I won't go there. But I've always had an interest in it. But anyway, I stumbled across my guides, in which the talk today is all the information is from my guides and a channeling, multiple channeling sessions, in which I use a medium. A medium helps me translate. So I'm just going to relay the information to you.
Oh, cool. So what you do is you connect with a channeler and you ask all these questions and you get all this fascinating answer to share with the audience, correct, Mary?
Right, right. And,
Cool.
and this information is primarily me working on my third memoir that will come out probably in a couple of years. I've already done the first and second memoir. And so the first one is called Two Heart Nuts to Crack. And the second one is A Beautiful Blueprint. And so it talks about the cultural, intercultural, and also spirituality of this pandemic that's going on and the Great Awakening. And so the third memoir is the third part of the trilogy that will conclude, what's going on and what we could look forward to the future.
Can you give a little bit of like what's in the future in that book? What's coming?
I
In
don't totally know. It's all a work in progress, but it's
Mhm.
building the new earth. Yeah, that's
Ah,
the title of the memoir, but it's about understanding ourselves, moving to 4D, 5D
mm,
orientation or consciousness, and
mhm.
all of us getting together to build the new earth. I don't
Okay.
want to reveal the title. That's supposed to be a surprise later.
Cool, cool. Well, so since you talk about New Earth, Mary, let's talk about that. Because we were talking about solar flash earlier, about New Earth. Share with us what you get from the channeler. What is New Earth? And how does it occur? And is it happening right now? So a lot of people are wondering, and I'm sure it has to do with the solar flare that we were just, thinking about talking. Because this has been a very actually a popular subject. A lot of people wants to know more about solar flash. Solar flash, when is it happening, and how it's going to happen? How do we know it's going to happen, and how it's going to affect you or us or each individual on their path, right? So let's begin with that then, with the new Earth.
Okay. Well, let me start with the big picture of our consciousness, how our consciousness impacts before and after the solar flash, which is imminent. It's just around the corner.
Mm,
Could happen any day. But anyway, so Dolores Cannon is a renowned regressive hypnosis uh, practitioner, and she's written 16 plus books, I believe, on her findings
mm-hmm.
that put her clients under regressive hypnosis. And one of her findings, she described the earth splitting into two earths, the 3D earth and the new earth. So currently, we are experiencing on earth the process of a consciousness split on earth, not a physical split at this time, we're experiencing involving a consciousness split of the earth. So we have the earth is primarily 3D consciousness, and what has been emerging for quite some time is the 4D consciousness, and we have 5D consciousness people. So what does that really mean when I talk about 3D, 4D, 5D consciousness? Well, fundamentally, people who have the particular orientation of 3, 4, or 5D consciousness emits a consistent energy, okay, of thinking, behaving, the awareness of certain things. And we'll get a little bit more detail as we're talking about more about 3 or 4 or 5D. But I want to try to explain this overview of consciousness. So we're emitting a consistent energy, forming a vibrational pattern of that eventually, when that's done for quite some time consistently and it grows in energy, it manifests and transforms into a physical form. So to make it really easy, we have the earth right here in blue, 3D. So we have 3D consciousness for thousands, millions of years. And so then when you get people having a consciousness of 4D and 5D, this right here, the white part, is like 4D consciousness, 5D consciousness energy coming from 3D planet Earth. Okay. And as this continues on and builds stronger and stronger, this is what Dolores Cannon has stated, that there will be a Earth split, okay? Because the 4D, 5D consciousness manifests and transform into a physical form. So some people were concerned, is the Earth going to split when the solar flash occurs? I said, no, not yet. Right now, it's a consciousness split. All right.
Okay.
Everyone is impacting this and creating this consciousness split, and then eventually it will be a physical split.
Okay. Now, my next question to you is, how long will it take for the earth to split? But before you answer that question, as some people may not know of Dolores Canyon, she is a very, very famous hypnotherapist, past life regressionist, and she has passed in 2014. And she was actually one of my mentor, my teacher when she first came out in Los Angeles, right around 2010. So I was in clinical hypnotherapy school in Los Angeles. And when I graduated, I was telling myself, hey, you know what? I need more than that. I need spiritual hypnotherapies, more diving deep. And then she came into my life and was one of my teacher. So I'm just happy to be one of her students. I'm a QHHT practitioner as well. So let's begin with the second question there. How long will it take for the earth to split? Is it splitting yet, Mary?
Well, it has kind of like, that aura or energy. And over time, that consistency and buildup of the masses of 4D, 5D, it will eventually split into a physical form, because energy eventually will be manifested if there's enough of that mass and that consistency. So I asked my guides, I said, well, how long will this new earth be physically split from the 3D old earth? They said, well, it could take up to 1,000 years. So it really depends on people's consciousness. How much is that mass building of energy? And so they said up to 1,000 years. It could be it could be 800 years, 900 years. We don't know.
Well, but doesn't mean we're going to be gone. We're all going to be gone anyway. So why worry about the split, right?
But we'll be back. We'll be back.
Right? Well, it's so funny because a lot of people also ask, like, does that mean that we're going to be physically passed on this earth? Which kind of makes sense, right? From what you just shared, many of us will be passed on and then reincarnate back, maybe reincarnate back into a better earth.
Yes, definitely. The next time around, we will move into a higher vibrational frequency. And so anyway,
Now,
yes.
that comes to mind, Mary, because there's people who, if they listen to our talk, they'll be like, what is this? But then there's many right now who's like totally get it about the earth splitting, believe in that and understand about energy and understand about ascension and solar flash and so on. So definitely there are different type of awareness and consciousness of a different soul level.
Mhm.
You know, I would just kind of consider as maybe beginners, those who just don't know what's going on at all in this aspect of spirituality, and then intermediate, and those are just kind of waking up, and there's more advanced. So, right, because we have talked about that. Mary, tell
Yeah.
me about how many percentage of them existing on this earth right now, especially during ascension time or during this earth split. Are there many of them in different soul levels, soul type, and why they're here? Yeah, if you have this answer from your channel, because I know you get a lot of answer from them.
Yeah.
Yes, fascinating.
Yeah, you have to ask the right questions to get the answers. They don't pour out all the answers without you asking questions. I just
Be
want you to know that.
specific, right? You got to ask specific question.
Yeah, and you have to really kind of survey other material and ask for validation or ask. It's just that you can't just go to the session and they pour out the answers. It doesn't work that way.
Right. So Mary's the one to go and get all those answer here for you.
So anyway, so Dr. Michael Newton, he also wrote a couple books, and he was a regressive hypnosis
Mhm,
therapist for decades. I think for at least 4 decades too. And
mhm,
I asked my guides, and they said, "Well, currently on planet Earth, it's equivalent 10% beginning souls and 10% advanced souls. And
mm.
80% of planet Earth is intermediate souls. Now,
Wow.
I
Mhm,
was surprised about that because when I read his books, again, it's 4 decades and it wasn't just like yesterday. So, there's some evolution going on. In his book, he indicates that at that time, what, half a century ago, there were more beginning souls, the majority is beginning souls, then intermediate was a smaller group, and then advanced soul was much less. And I was thinking, wow, 80% intermediate souls. Now,
mm,
I thought about this and I'm thinking, well, that makes sense because if the solar flash is imminent, it's just around the corner, you got to have a certain vibrational frequency that's high enough. Now, if
mm.
all the beginning souls are like 80%,
It wouldn't work.
yeah, so we're not going to have a solar flash. So you could tell that there's some buildup occurring. So that's how I make sense. Okay, but I was surprised initially because I was basing it off of Michael Newton's book, but I have to remember you got to contextualize that information at the time that he presented his findings. So,
Mm.
so anyway,
Well, Mary, that's kind of makes sense too, in a way when they're saying that there's a lot of soul who volunteers to come down here right now,
yes.
especially during that you would say ascension and solar flash that will open up and activate. You can call an intermediate soul who's been here, and once everyone's open and activated, they all will shift the majority of the energy of the earth. I mean, I think that would make sense too, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Wow.
true. That does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to look at the percentage breakdown on the old Earth, when the two Earths split,
Mm.
the breakdown of the old Earth, according to my guides, they said it'll be a majority of 3D, which makes sense. But they said there will also be a small fraction of 5D people on the old earth. And so
Mm.
they explained why, because the 5D people are there to help the 3D people to grow and learn and expand. And so when I thought about this, I was thinking, oh, I would think that the 5D would be over at the new earth, which I'm sure they go back and forth.
Let's go over there.
And so, they're of service. But, I thought of during Jesus' era,
Mm.
the time of his life on earth, that he was that fraction of, he might have been 7 to 8D. I don't know. He was high vibrational. And then you got the masses of uneducated people, a lot of slaves. And I said, oh, okay. All right. That makes sense. Jesus was somewhat high vibrational, trying to teach the masses and help them. And so that's how I contextualize it. It makes sense. And so they said, the guy said that the new earth, when the split does occur, of course, it'll be a larger percentage of 5D and then 4D. But what surprised me, they also said there'll be a fraction of 3D people on the 5D new Earth planet. I said, well, how could that be? I mean,
I was going to ask the same question. Yes, how could that be?
And they said, because as time goes on, hundreds of years go on, our bodies have become multidimensional. So their body is able to adapt, but their consciousness will still be 3D. And I think,
Wow.
oh, okay, that's interesting. I never heard of that. Okay. And so then they also further explain about the yin and yang that exists on the physical dimension. So it will be on the old earth and also be on the new earth too.
Okay.
And so they said yin and yang, positive, negative, it always exists because there has to be some change and transformation on the physical dimension. So you need to have the two opposing complementary energies that, create.
Well, I guess because a third dimension it's a dimension that consists of the what do you call that, the yin and the yang. That's what you just mentioned earlier. I mean, that's just part of this existence, and it will never change.
Yes, but also when it's new earth, the yin and yang still exists. Okay?
Even in a 50.
Yeah, it will still exist, they said.
But that's a consciousness, perhaps. It's still a physical dimension experience, but the consciousness is the fifth dimension.
Right.
And that's what I would assume.
Yes. And so they said also what yin and yang provides is contrast. Okay, so you can, not everything is all one color, but there's some degree of contrast so that you could, measure things out. So I think what they relayed to me.
So did they mention that how many people are on 5D experience right now, or just a very fraction?
Oh, on planet Earth right now, it's 10%, also 10% 5D and above consciousness is the 80% of the intermediate. So it's that breakdown.
Yeah, that's not a lot yet.
Yeah.
Now, when you mentioned about the big the new soul, the intermediate soul, and also the advanced soul, I'm sure a lot of audience would be like, "What am I? What category am I falling into?" Because I hear a lot. I mean, I heard a lot of this. Like, I'm an old soul. I'm advanced soul. I might be a beginner soul. Did you ask the channel about this part? Like, how would one know? Because I get that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever thought about that, Mary? Yes.
Well, I can't be real specific because it gets kind of fuzzy for me. We know that beginning souls are newbies, people who don't know what's going on. They're they don't know what's going on. There's a lot of trial and error. They're exploring. Everyone's all exploring, but so that's the sense I get. And the advanced souls are the ones that are high vibrational, and they're able to have all these clairaudient, clairvoyance, telepathic abilities, transporting. They could do all of this. And the intermediates are not the newbies. but they're not so advanced. So they're, the in-between that is like the 4D people, the 4D people that we're talking about.
Yeah.
We'll get better sense there.
Can you explain, because I know some people may not know when they're listening, what's 4D? Maybe briefly explain that, Mary,
Yeah.
just for some audience.
Yeah. Well, before I talk about 4D, I should talk about 3Ds. That'll be easier for people to understand. But I want to quickly mention before we go into 3, 4, 5D, what they are likely to experience after the solar flash. Is the triggering of the solar flash. Now, we mentioned this last talk, and so we know that 51% of the people on planet Earth who are heart-based will ascend. Okay, so what we said before, what we meant by heart-based is you have to have 51% is like other serving, good intentions. You believe that there's more beyond the physical. Okay, and so that is not going to trigger the solar flash. That's just part of the process. What's going to really trigger the solar flash is that 10% of that 51% that ascends, that they are considered the core leaders. Core leaders, people are helping others to understand the Great Awakening, spiritual growth. I would also include, there's no definitive, label for them or what they do. And so I will also include the white hats, behind the scenes, the ones who are strategizing things for the masses.
Right.
But anyways, that 10% core leaders, and once they reach particular qualities such as pure heart, other serving, good intentions, and they've taken care of their densities, and they're also open. So I want to make a clarification this time around, because I don't think I was as clear in the second one. What I mean by open means that a person's flexible, they're adaptable to changes and what exists. They're not stuck in one's beliefs or traditions. They're open to what's there. Okay. And so when that 10% has developed and gotten their quote act together, they will trigger that solar flash. And so that 10%, why they're the core, is because they have that consistent energy that holds space for the rest of the mass of people. The other 41% of the people. So that core will help ascend us to, towards the 5D. And so the rest of us is the critical mass. So I should also mention that where are we in terms of that 10% core? My guides said we're about at 7 to 8%.
So we are at the 7 to 80%.
No, 7 to 8
that core.
Yeah, 7 to 8% of that 10% energy. Okay. All right. And so that's of September 2023. I should put in that date. And then also, and so because I would ask every other month, where are we? I want to measure things.
So did they say in at approximate which timeline that it will reach, that 10% of the core group will reach that closer to 100% of triggering the solar flash?
Yeah. Don't know which timeline, because they're saying timelines are always jumping around and all that.
True, it's true.
They tell me, well, right now the core is about 7 to 8%, which is really good. And then I asked about critical mass, because I would hear this term and I get all confused because
right?
Everyone else speaking. And so I asked about the critical mass, and they said we're at the 47% title, 47 percentile of September 2023, who are awakened in varying degrees. And so if
there's still quite a bit.
Yeah, 47%. That's not too bad. I should have asked for clarification. Is that 47% of that 51%?
That's what I assume.
Yeah, that's what I think it is, because that's the ascension part. So we're getting really close. So when we're saying that critical mass is 47% and varying degrees of understanding of who they truly are spiritually and their heart base, and they believe there's more than the physical, and they know that there's some corruption going on a lot.
Right. Yes.
So that's part of the awakening, right? So anyway, so that's what they informed me on.
So what triggers the solar flash, the great awakening?
Yeah,
It's those 10%,
yes.
the core group, um, bring about that activation, which is now right about 75%. I'll just kind of say it right around that range,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
And then the critical mass,
Uh-huh.
majority, which is 80%, they're roughly almost there. That's what you're saying. It's
Yeah,
almost there.
we're getting there. Again, you have the 3D consciousness, right? They're
Yeah.
not included in that 51%. Do you see what I'm saying? They're not ascending. So we have to look at it in terms of the 51% that are going to ascend, who have the 51% heart base. And out of that 51% is the 10% core of leaders that provide that stability and maintain that, shifting. So what I also asked them was about the Big Bang.
All right. Yeah.
How that's comparable to the solar flash.
Okay.
And so the Big Bang, we know scientists on Earth, it's a theory. All
Yes.
they can do is theorize. So they theorized the Big Bang was the creation of this universe or what have you. It was an accident. It was random. And it's evolution of all these mobies and cells and all that. But my guys say, no, what they say is that the earth was created with focus energy. There were celestial beings, a higher intelligence, and these mixed gases. All of that was involved. And they also made it very clear. They said that the Big Bang was a vibrational experience of creation, not a physical rock and things exploding. Okay.
Yes.
So they're also saying that this upcoming solar flash phenomena is comparable to the Big Bang, theory. Well, not the theory, the Big Bang is both our vibrational experience that we will have. It's an energetic shift. That's
okay. Because oftentimes a lot of people think it's gonna be like what happened to the physical body.
Yes. We're feeling it right now, little by little. Ascension symptoms, which we talked about last time around. But I thought that was interesting, the comparison. And it's, they're not saying it's not an explosion like the Big Bang, Big Bang theory, according to scientists, but it's a energetic, vibrational shift.
That makes sense to me, Mary, because humans have a tendency to interpret it in literally physical.
3D.
Yes. But if we would interpret it in energetically, it does make a lot of sense with the solar flash. So the Big Bang is just like explosion of the consciousness.
Yes.
And the awareness.
Yeah, they're saying it's just.
So when that Big Bang comes around, I mean, I'm sure it's probably here already, comes around, often people were talking about, well, how would that affect them? How would they know that solar flash is here already? This is like a very frequent asked questions that I hear a lot, and then oftentimes, we mentioned about the veils lifting, the matrix is lifting, and I think you have something to share with that.
Yeah, I did ask them because I'm one of these people, I need to get a good feel of what these words mean. So when we're talking about, removal of the veil, they're saying the veil is thinning now, and it will be removed when the solar flash occurs. I said, what's this veil? So they gave me a metaphor. They said, think of a room, you're in a room, and there's fog in the room. And this fog divides you from all the sides in the room. You know, there's 4 sides of the room, but you can't see it clearly because of the fog. But the fog does move, right? And you know that there's, you know, you see and feel and hear certain things in between the fog as it moves around in the room. And so they're saying that when that solar flash occurs, then all that fog will totally dissipate. So they're saying that's the collective veil. But they also said that when that flash occurs, the collective veil will be removed. However, we will still have our individual veil that we still have, depending on our growth, depending, you know, on a number of things. If we haven't cleared our densities, then we're going to have more of a fogginess, right? Those people who worked on themselves and have less ego, things of that nature, then they could have more clarity in their life. So, I appreciate that metaphor, because it helps me to understand what do we mean by this veil. So this veil also is the veil of forgetfulness. So when we came to this journey of life, we agreed that we're going to forget all of our past lives, forget whatever we know, so that we could focus on this journey right now, because our original nature is multidimensional. So we're multidimensional. You can see different timelines. You can see all kinds of things beyond physical. So, you know, you got all this going on. And so we can't focus on this physical dimension. So that's what's known also the veil of forgetfulness.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that would make sense. Yeah, this is the journey, ascension time, when we start to remember who we are.
Yes. Yes.
Well, that's when magic happened, right?
Woo.
And this is what a lot of great teachers has been talking about for years, the Mayans and many ancient predictions talk about. This is the time now that I think we're getting closer to this solar flash, to this expansion of the consciousness and awareness. Now, how would this opening up the veil affect those who are not awakened, who are the beginners or who are still existing in the 3D dimension? Would that be different?
Yeah. Well, everyone will experience something, okay, and whatever degree it may be. So on planet Earth, we will all continue to live on planet Earth, okay, unless you decide to exit. It's your soul plan. But you'll still be interacting with 3D, 4D, and 5D, just like we're interacting with all 3 consciousness right now in our life on Earth. Okay, we're just going to have everyone's going to have a frequency vibrational lift. Okay, when that solar flash occurs, and that solar flash will help to a certain degree. It won't remove all of our densities, but certain densities will evaporate. Okay, they weren't specific on what those densities, because I think everyone differs and the type and to what degree. And so with the 3D people, they will pretty, you know, one thing that's really important. So when we're talking about 3, 4, and 5D right now, my God, they emphasize there's no judgment, 3D, 4D, and 5D consciousness people. Because, well, they're just saying you 3D people aren't bad or less than. So they want to make sure that we don't judge any of these different consciousness, because they explain they're all different growth process, different expansion. It's like a first grader is not considered bad in relations to a 12th. They're just different stages of growth. So, you know,
the evolution of the soul is different. Yeah, stages.
Okay, so we want to make sure we don't get judgmental.
Right. It's so true, because there's no who's any better, anything like that, you know. Sometimes it's kind of hard to explain in this the human language term, where uh people don't get misunderstood that we're comparing who's better, who's not, and who's higher and who's lower. And it's not that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
as we progress into 4 and 5D, we definitely move away from that type of judgment and evaluation, better and worse, because that's all ego driven. So
mhm.
anyway, so when the solar flash occurs, some of the 3D people, it can also be 4 or 5D people, will not survive the solar flash. Instead, they will return home, to the heavens, higher dimensions. But it is their designated exit point in their soul plan. So
You
it's
said
not
about
something by
3D.
accident.
Is it 3D and 4D you just said?
Well, it's all right, since we're talking about 3D, but it does not necessarily excuse any 4D or 5D people, because people just have different exit points. But if we're just talking about just 3D, there will be some people who will exit because it's in their soul plan.
Mm-mm.
Why? Because they decided they didn't want to go through the ascension process and their soul plan. I don't want to go through my social ascension process. Instead, I am choosing to go back home and do whatever I need to do in the afterlife, because in the afterlife, you're still growing. You might go to another planet, you might have another life, who knows, but you've chosen to return back to Earth when the frequency has raised and you're in a new body and you have more DNA strands that open and you have more abilities. So some people have decided to exit when, by the time the solar flash occurs. Okay, so that's one possibility, or one point. Another thing is the negative timeline will occur for transhumanism for some people in 3D, especially the ones who believe and promote transhumanism. Okay. And it could also be some people who just don't know what's going on. Maybe the beginner souls don't know what's going on and they fall into it and they go, oh, that's really cool to put a chip in my brain or put a chip in my body. And then they're overtaken as transhumanism. So, you have also a portion of people in 3D that will be in the negative timeline. Also, you'll have 3D people, some 3D people will, of course, continue to live on Earth, but they will experience certain crises, such as a job loss, maybe their health, or some event that's meant to wake them up. And so it's meant to prompt them to make changes in their life. Like, you mentioned about, that person who had
Yes.
cancer and all that. So it really has woken that person up, and he's already changed his direction towards
Yes.
spirituality.
I just have shared with the Mary early before we started, know a person who had a kind of a health threat, with the cancer, but then that's kind of woke him up, and in less than a short time, we meditated, and um his girlfriend meditated, and he actually discovered from the doctor in a very short time that the cancer cell disappeared, and he was just like blown away, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's magic that we're all gonna discover. Then he began to turn around and taking Reiki healing classes, and coming back into this journey that is not even is new to him.
Mhm.
He's fascinated by that. And like what Mary said, there's going to be a shift with the health and all these traumas that wake you up. And if it's meant for you, then you'll kind of change your path toward the 5D,
Yeah.
toward self. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
I
so,
see that a lot. Yes.
right. And so we'll see more and more people in the 3D realm, make those changes. And so also we will be witnessing the crumbling of the corruption in the 3D world, like crimes against humanity, the corrupt systems, structures, self-serving evil and institutions. They're crumbling now, little by little.
It is crumbling right now. And I don't know if you follow astrology, Mary, because I do. I mean, I'm into everything. So one of it is astrology, and even in astrology, it does tell that the crumbling is actually happening within these few years, you
Yes.
know. And you're talking about the the ship and all the stuff. It's actually already happening. So this is the time. This
Yeah.
is exact the time which I believe the solar flash also all this are happening. Or even some people call it a second coming, or in the Bible, there's a lot of words that people are waiting. It's the final moment or whatever.
Right.
Ascension time.
Yeah.
Different word from different culture, different religion, books, texts, scriptures, but I think this is the time.
Mhm. So, we have the 3D, 4D, 5D consciousness people. And after the
Mm,
solar flash, there will be more and more of a tendency of 4D and 5D people really finding their tribe. They're finding that they want to hang out too much with 3D people. I mean, because there's not much shareness or same orientation. Like in 3D consciousness, you'll find ego-oriented people. You'll
yeah,
find more of them rather than a 4 and 5D. Okay, we'll talk about 4D in a bit. So you come across a lot of ego-oriented people. They view life concretely and very physically. They don't think anything or believe anything beyond anything's physical that they can't
right.
feel, touch, or smell.
Exactly. We on the 5 cents, not real.
Yeah, and they're more, the 3D are more the mental body. They're
Yeah,
just about the brain and the mind, and they've not, they've ignored their emotions and their senses and their heart. It's just like everything in their mind. And so 3D consciousness people will still have a tendency to be I. It's about me, my individual experience, my perspective, what's good for me, what affects me and my world, and more so how they're thinking about me more so than what's happening or affecting other people. So it's the I, and the me.
yes.
And it's very masculine 3D energy.
Makes
So
sense.
that's considered older, archaic, and dominant. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Again, my guy said, no, we can't judge this. It's just a process which people have to experience it, because you learn
Right.
through experience, you get the wisdom and so forth. And then when they experience that, then they might come to a point in which I don't like that kind of egomaniac behavior, you
Right.
know. And so they start shifting their consciousness. So I just want to make sure I keep that perspective in there, because they keep telling me about that. Okay. So then the 3D masculine energy has this ego, like I serve myself, I'm in power. There's a win-lose mentality. I want to climb the corporate ladder and all these materialistic energy. And it's about protecting myself, my image, my status, and this power and control and dominance. So it's just like, we know people like that.
Yeah, that's to the extreme, with the 3D. I mean, of course, we all have to acquire material and all that stuff for the living, for the survival skill. But Mary's talking about the extreme side of it,
Yeah,
where
the
it's just
people,
all about me, all about material stuff. And
yeah,
then that's the only focus in life until the day they die, you
yeah.
know?
Well, I
And
keep up with the Joneses. Oh, they got a
yeah.
boat, I could get a boat. Oh, their child went to this university, my child's gonna go to this Ivy League. It's like competition,
That's how
and
we grew up in our culture, in the Asian culture. It's pretty typical. I remember that.
I hear
It's all
about that.
comparison.
Yeah, so it's comparison, competition, and
Hmm.
separation. Now, let's look at the 3D feminine energy. So you
Mm.
have the 3D consciousness, you have the feminine energy. So on one end of the continuum of this feminine 3D energy is, people who don't see themselves having power. Instead, they want to hand the power over to the masculine, who likes
Mm.
domination, control. So this 3D feminine energy on one end tends to be submissive. They tend to be a follower. They're giving someone else the control. They even go to the extreme of you.
Sacrifice. Is
You
it with
you can abuse me and I'll tolerate it. Okay,
Yes.
it's extreme. Of course, you have all these increments, but still you have one end continuum, that 3D feminine energy. Now, on the other end of the continuum of the 3D feminine energy is the feminist energy. So the
Mm.
feminist energy is about power. We've been held back. We've been suppressed. And
Right.
so my guides are saying, that's really no different from the masculine energy, because
Right.
who's going to win? They're still creating separation. They're not seen as equals. There's a battle going on. So that's the 3D consciousness. When people
The
have,
extreme of both ends, there's no
right,
balance, you got to come to the center. That's what I say. Yeah.
yeah. So
Mm.
anyway, so that's enough of 3D. We could talk about the 4D
Well,
people.
let's move up to the fourth.
Yeah,
We're moving up level by level here. All right,
yeah.
let's do the fourth level.
I'll go there. Okay, like 51% of us are going to 4D. Okay, so after the solar flash,
Yeah.
everyone will also notice a difference. Colors will be clearer,
Yeah.
sharper, and brighter. The sounds will be crisper, and some will feel and see and hear things beyond the physical. Okay, some will feel surprised. Others will be, wow, this is actually happening here. And so some people will be interdimensional, meaning they'll access their third eye, the pineal gland, the third eye, and so they'll see beyond just physical. The third eye will affect their hearing, their seeing, the clairvoyance, telepathic, increased connection of synchronicity, clairaudient, and clairsentience. Okay, so it's not like bam, you got it full, but it'll vary depending on everyone's lineage and their growth. And
So this is like when they're activating all their six senses, their clairs,
yeah,
all
okay,
that.
so I asked for that clarification too. They say right now, as we've talked about, the light codes are opening our strands of DNA. Okay, it's actually more than 12 strands of DNA. And so, all right, they're open, but it comes to the point that, all right, so certain strands are open, all the strands are open for me, but which ones will I pursue to open more to a point of activation? I know we use the word activate the cells, but it's actually opening the DNA.
We have it already. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you have it. So it's up to you. What do you really want to activate and work on and expand? So it will take some work, but you will notice, oh, maybe, oh, I'm seeing certain things that I wasn't aware of before, or I'm beginning to hear some messages from my guides. And so, you hear it now and then, but if you want to hear it more, and clearer and louder and have a smoother connection, you got to work at it. Yeah, it's not just given.
And then people will ask, how? How do you work at it?
I'll give that to Tina. You could take her classes.
That's when you come to my school. That's when you go into my hypnosis session. Well, basically, sometimes people go, what are this? What is this for? This school, or you learn how to tap into your higher self or your intuition. It's exactly the same thing what you just shared, Mary. Just work on your senses,
Yeah,
opening up. We felt it, we heard it, but we always question because we're still having that 3D consciousness.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you had that desire to enhance your multidimensional being, which is your original self, there are teachers out there, spiritual teachers that will help you grow in that way.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so let's see. So everyone will experience that 4D in varying degrees, depending on their belief system. So some
Mm-hmm.
people who are still 4D, this 4D is a transformational, it's an integration, it's a development time. And you go and you grow in increments. You don't go from 3D boom to 5D because you'll kill yourself, actually. I mean, it's just too much frequency and vibration that your body is not ready for.
Confusion could be confusion too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not only the physical, it's the mind, it's the emotions, it's everything. So the 4D is a time in which is a tremendous growth if you choose to. So, so it's a shifting of awareness, a shifting of vibration, discovering the level of truth about ourselves and the reality around us. And so, you know, everyone's at different stages.
Exactly.
So,
moving up to the fifth.
oh,
People go, are we at the fifth yet? No, no. Well,
yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah.
Let's see, any more? Okay, so yeah. Oh, I should also mention that in the 4D, you start developing and practicing more of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. Okay, so I'll talk more about that in detail in the 5D, but just know that you are, you know, working, you know, developing and balancing the divine feminine and divine masculine, which is different from 3D feminine, 3D masculine energy.
Makes
Okay.
sense. Yeah, that's totally makes sense. You are upgrading yourself.
Yeah. So I should also mention before we go to the 5D is that this is a transitional period of growth and development of resolving your shadows, your hangups, your density, okay, to allow more light into your cells and to release particular densities. If it may be transmuting ancestral trauma that you've had in your past lives, because, you know, when that veil is gone, some people will have memories of past lives. And they'll remember certain traumas, or certain traumas will come to the forefront for you to deal with. And so anyway, so there'll be certain challenges. So you would want to deal with your issues of addiction, fear, stress, worries, shame, so forth and so on.
And that's gotta go. That's the time where a lot of people are going through all this.
Right.
Perhaps interest in classes, interest in past life therapy, past interest in, you know, working on ancestral programming.
Right.
So I think this is where people are in this level.
Yeah. And in this 4D consciousness, you're becoming more aware beyond the me and the I. So you're becoming more of, you know, sharing, more collectivism. Some people will also start developing telepathic connection, even astral or energy, you know, astral projection to a certain extent. And so, or a sense of knowing and things of that nature. So anyway, so it's all in there. So let's move to 5D. Okay.
Yeah, that's what people are waiting for, right? The 50.
Yeah.
A lot of people are talking about in just different culture, even in Thai culture. You know, my channel has a lot of Thai followers too. They're really, really into like wanting to know about fifth dimension. What is it about? But I like the fact that you are explaining the stages of the third dimensional energy. What are they like? And then transitioning into the fourth dimension, which makes sense. And now let's move up into the fifth.
Yeah. And so when we get to 5D, we've worked a lot in the 4D dimension. So when you get to the 5, and we're developing these things in 4D too, but when you get to 5D, you have the unity consciousness. People who are 5D say, oh, unity consciousness, it's all about all. It's all about what's good for me. It's also good for you. It's coming together. It's to understand this group orientation. But you're not losing sight of your differences or your uniqueness or individuality. You still, you know, maintain that, but there's more of a sense of unity, collective consciousness. It's like, I care about you, you care about me, I have your back, you have my back. It's a mindfulness that is a very functional, honest, and loving manner towards self and others. So let's look at this divine feminine, divine masculine energy in 5D.
Also, yeah, cool.
Down 4D, but 5D, you're pretty much there. So this divine masculine and divine feminine is consideration of one. they support each other, you're coming together than just solely individuality like in 3D.
Mm-hmm. So it's
So
not about me, but it's about maybe group,
yeah,
us,
yeah, and you look after another,
each
you know
other.
that you're not
Yeah.
there, not just looking at yourself, but oh, hey, and you want to help them out without them asking you. It's something like very collective. So the divine masculine is in support of the divine feminine. Uh, when the divine feminine is empowered, depending on the circumstances, the situation, right?
Yeah.
Or the event. And so the masculine and feminine, they work together passionately together. They're like a team. So the divine feminine is nurturing with empowerment energy. They can be vulnerable, but they're also strong at the same time. So when we talk about vulnerable, is that, we're transparent about, something that, we aren't fully strong at, but we're being honest about where we're at. It's no big deal. That's just where we're at. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's perfect, right?
Right.
And so it's very similar in that way with the divine masculine energy. There's that vulnerability, that strength at the same time. So we look at a relationship. Where can the divine masculine support and serve in a relationship? So you might have the female. She's going for her, she's in graduate school and she has to finish her dissertation, for example. And so, you got to really put a lot of energy, you got to keep focused, but she is married to someone. So the divine masculine would be supportive and be of service to the feminine who has this deadline to complete a dissertation. Okay. Doing original research. Okay. That's what it means for people who don't know what dissertation is, in order to graduate. And
In the
so,
graduate program. Yeah.
yeah. And so what the divine masculine does is take action. They get things done. They're strong and they hold space for the divine feminine, because the divine feminine is working really hard to finish this up, because this is what is important right now in this time period. Divine masculine steps in and say, hey, I'll do the cooking, because you got this deadline here. I'll take care of the kids. I'll go pick them up from school. And whatever those chores that have to be done, the masculine will step in. Whereas the 3D masculine and 3D feminine, there's more of a tendency of female, you're in charge of anything inside the house. Males, I'm in charge of everything outside of the house, the garden, the cars. Okay. Female has to take care of the cooking, the laundry, the kids, so it's separation.
Operation. Yeah.
They don't help each other out. And if one doesn't do one thing, like the meal isn't made by the time the man comes home, then the man may feel like they have the right to be angry.
That's
You can
right.
do this, So it's like the separation, there's no teamwork in 3D. In 5D unity consciousness, people help each other out wherever it's needed. They're a total support system. That's so beautiful. I just love that.
Mm-mm. So that comes with, like, we kept hearing about tribal, the tribe or the energy. We're going to see more and more of many different groups,
Mhm.
where people are, which kind of surprisingly, I mean, I wouldn't say surprising, which is kind of fascinating how universe works, because uh my own experience, Mary, for example, I have always been right before the end of last year. It was just about me, exactly what you just described, Mary. If everybody's listening to Mary right now, look back in your life. In the beginning, it's just about me, self-serving. It's about me, our own ego self, and then we go through a period in the fourth dimension where we are working on ourselves, really releasing a lot of stuff. And
Mhm.
then on the fifth dimension, here you go. I just, the universe just throw me into my group, the spiritual group where I'm a teacher, teaching Thai students right now. And what you just shared is quite fascinating, Mary, because I feel like this is also playing in the physical aspect. You know,
Mhm.
I have a partner and I see myself as a masculine role and she's as a feminine role, which
Mhm.
is interesting. And I would step in and making sure, it gets help and put things in place, hold it together. So I found that to be quite fascinating because I never been in a very large group, but here it's all about group. And I would not just think about myself, I would think about how everyone's doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody's happy with what they do. Are they growing? Do they feel happy? Do you feel abundance? And da da da, which is kind of matching exactly what you're saying.
And so you're speaking of your partnership in business. And
Right. And then it's mirrored to the energy,
uh-huh.
right? In the energy. Hmm.
Yeah. So I just want to mention, the divine masculine energy is about leadership, guidance, assistance, it's gentle strength, and it's protection. Okay. So the 5D consciousness, the divine includes the heart space. Okay. It's not in the mind space like 3D. Actually, in the 4D and 5D, the 4D, you're working towards that 5D of having the mind and heart alignment to have coherence, not the mind thinking one thing and the heart doing the other thing. Quick example is, usually when we do the mind space, it's attached to the external culture.
Hmm.
This is what's the right thing to do or appropriate, or this is inappropriate. So your mind is thinking, am I going to fit in? Am I going to, step on anyone's toes? Am I, and then, but your heart right here is saying, that doesn't resonate with me. That doesn't resonate with me in the external world of how I'm supposed to behave or how I'm supposed to say things and feel. Okay. So when we get as we're working in the 4D to 5D, we should have an alignment of the mind and heart coherent so that we're not operating or functioning like I'm doing this because of this, but my heart don't feel that way. So you're half-hearted doing it. You're doing something
Exactly.
you don't want to do. You're just being a follower. So that's
Right.
here, you own yourself, you're centered, and you're aligned.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And
I totally agree with that. Yeah. And I think what it is, we all will go through life having a physical experience,
mhm,
what you just shared,
mhm.
3Ds, 4Ds, and fifth dimension.
Yeah.
Everyone's experiencing that.
Yeah. And so so the new earth is a 5D grid.
Mhm.
For a very long, long time, the old blueprint of earth is 3D. The new earth is the 5D grid. So
New
that's
grid.
exciting. That's
Yeah.
exciting. Even though we're gonna be here, we're gonna come back. Even if
I agree with that because I kept seeing the new grid. It's like crystal grid. That's a new grid that's being formed right now.
so
Yeah,
you see that.
I
Yeah.
saw that. I saw that coming. I saw even a crystal grid that was the original grid that we had, and then it got destroyed, and then now it's coming back. The grid is like a grid of consciousness, really. And so we are kind of consciously, Wi-Fi, like a Wi-Fi connection. We're just interconnecting with all living things to me. And yeah, and the old grid is more like a matrix or illusion, or it was created to create a false program to us.
Mhm.
So, but this is absolutely beautiful, Mary, for you to share all this challenge information because I find that to be quite, I mean, it's true. It's fascinating and wow. What is
Yeah.
the next topic then, Mary? Because you get us going here.
Oh, I just want to impart a few some nerves that some people say, oh, am I going to lose my family members? Are we going to be
Oh
separated?
my God, yes.
No, everyone is going to stay put unless it's their time to exit. Everyone, you'll still see everyone. Again,
Mm,
we're at a consciousness split. So our bodies are going to be around. You can interact with whoever you want to interact as you choose, but it's the frame of mind. Okay. It's not only the frame of mind, but it's also the heart in which you behave, how you translate energy, interpret certain things. It's just three different orientations of growth. I give an example that's such as the three socioeconomic class, lower, middle, and upper class, right? So, you know, we're aware of the lower class and we're of the upper class, but, you know, for example, the upper class, we don't, I'm not upper class. I don't know what their rich and famous lifestyle is like, but, you know, whatever I see on TV, but I've never experienced it. I'm more in the middle class, okay?
Yeah.
But I could go interact with them, but my orientation or consciousness, I really don't know what the deal is in the upper class, and even if in the low poverty, you know, like
Right, because you're not there, you know, and you're existing, your experience. Makes sense, and that's a good analogy.
well, that's all existing on planet Earth. So, you know, it's essentially the same. It's just that we're just growing. So there's a difference between maturity and immaturity. The immaturity would be more the 3D, again, not being judged them, but they're just at that pace. And then maturity is the 5D. So my guys say it's very courageous period of time for all of us. We are advancing as a human civilization. It's
Oh,
light, it's light overcoming darkness.
well, we are warriors, right? We are spiritual warriors,
Yeah,
and we're overcoming all this darkness, you know, together as one. You know, we have to unite and share. That's what it is.
yeah,
Yeah,
and this time is a very fast advancement. Time
yeah.
speeding up, and it's a great upliftment. So enjoy it and do your thing.
I think this is fascinating though, because you know, even though we're seeing all these events that could trigger fear in many people in 3Ds, but we have to see that this is a very, very enlightenment time because this is time that we all have a very awareness that's more than any time in the past, you
At
know.
no time in humanity has come this far, getting to this point of light overcoming darkness. It's always darkness that always wins. This time, light is going to win. We're going
Right.
to win.
And it's funny because this morning I just mentioned, you know, to my we had meditation this morning, Mary, and I even talk about, you know, the love and light will always gonna win over the dark, you know, and just send them love and light, and that's it. You know, don't be afraid what's coming. We can actually warn people and let them know, let them become aware of what's gonna come up, but do not let fear and this worry to consume you because then you're putting yourself in that third dimensional consciousness, you
Yeah.
know. And wow, I truly, truly enjoy this enlightenment, you know, information that you have shared with us today, Mary. I'm sure a lot of audience here who will listen to this interview would absolutely enjoy as much as I've had. You know, it's fun. Mary got a lot of fun stuff to share. Now, I just hope that everyone will just click the link underneath this description to get Mary's books. She got a couple books out in on Amazon right now. So pick up her book because I found her story to be quite fascinating. She has shared with me, but I think the ending is exciting because it's ongoing of a true experience. That's what it is, you know? And that's the point where I remember when you share with me on the cruise, I was like, wow, this is so cool. You know, because at first I didn't follow at first, but when you begin to share more of what your book is, you know, becoming, I was like, wow, this is such a great book that you're going to share with the world because you can see like a different dimension of reality existing at the same time.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
how I feel.
That was in my slow plan. So you got to
Hey,
do what
that's her
you
plan. She's a teacher and, you know, teach it everyone by, you know, being here on an interview and also, you know, has written her books to share with the world. So I hope you grab her books, yeah, through the links below and in the description. Mary, last word, anything you wanted to impart to the audience?
have fun, folks. Be thrilled. You're going to expand. Enjoy the expansion, the learning, and the realization that you are truly a spirit having a human experience, and go light. We're light.
That's right, love and light, right? Well,
Light.
guys, I want to thank you, Mary, so much for being here today. I absolutely love this full hour with her. I mean, fun, you know. And you have a question that you want to ask Mary, or more question you want her to find out the answer, absolutely. Post comments, guys. Post all the comments to ask Mary. She'll answer to you. Share this video if you find that this information can answer a lot of people's question when it comes to a fifth dimension experience, solar flash. There's a lot of people who have question about that. I feel this hour of interview has been quite significant for a lot of people. Questions. It answers a lot of questions to a lot of people. I've seen that a lot. So with that said, guys, a lot of hugs and a lot of love. I learned this from my students. The heart symbol. I'm still not good at it. But hey, that looks like a heart to me, right? Oh God, over that light, you see that above your head, Mary? You got the background that has a beautiful sun, and you can have that just love and light there. Oh, right at my heart. How about that? Guys, love and light to you. Thank you, Mary. A lot of love and light to you. And you all, yes, don't forget to subscribe, click like, share this video, please. Mwah. Bye, guys. Until the next video.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Let me.
All right, we're going to end this. End meeting for all.